into a small pixie, one that seemed to have been rather old in her ages and years, but not being unhelpful. Her name, not exactly from what you guys were able to um, gather. I mean, she didn't really tell you her name, but from what you do know, her name is Nora. Nolra. Nora. So, spending some time getting a generous rest within the small confines of her house. Near him, you find yourself relatively tight in this compact house, having to sleep pretty much sitting up, with your feet and knees nearly to your chest. But as you all make your way out of her house in the morning and through her garden of pox, we pick up there, just as our party has managed to get themselves through the initial onset of these pox and settling them to rest with a relatively charming hand, thanks to our very, very beloved Clyde. But that is where we will pick up, where we left off, and we get back into character there.
Mm.
The floor is yours, and you may do as you wish. As you still find yourselves maneuvering through these pox, very gently stepping around, as Clyde somewhat cautiously stepping around them as to not exactly,
Up on
uh,
them.
yeah, not step on them again. So, but, one second. No, you didn't have to roll. Remember, you rolled last time when you were trying to dance your way through, and you accidentally woke up a really old-looking pock that had some spikes growing out of its back. And eventually you kind of put your hand down and scratched the top of its head, and it grumbled and went back to sleep after you fed it a
Uh,
gem.
yes,
I
the
believe you guys
rock.
fed it a ruby. Yeah, Rowan fed it a ruby, I believe.
Mm.
And once he had fed it that ruby, you would watch as the soft red glow started emanating from all of the pocks within what seemed to have been almost like a 30-foot radius.
Um, Rowan, what did you do?
Looks at you and legitimately just shrugs. I, I have no idea. It seemed to have worked, whatever it was.
Right, right. Let's be careful. I don't want to have to make everyone fly again, and that will be quite taxing on me.
He looks at you and just kind of gives you this really quizzical glance. You, taxing on you. Yeah, and you have to pick us up, so save us the embarrassment, and let's do this quietly, shall we? Or at least while we have these things distracted.
Agreed.
He looks over towards Clyde, who's still just kind of looking very brazenly at this Pock. Rome goes over and kind of pokes Clyde on the shoulder. I think we should keep moving. I don't think it's a very good idea to stick around where we woke these things up.
Agreed. And also try to, carefully maneuver around. If they were glowing uh, by a 30-foot area, will we be able to tell which ones were actually, pox?
Uh, Actually, it seems most of these in this area are pocks. Only like a few small pebbles are just not. But as Clyde looks over and questioningly looks over at Clyde, or Clyde looks over at Rowan. Do you think they all tasted that, or were they just happy? Rowan
Mm.
gives a generous shrug. I have no clue. If you want to ask him, by all means.
Um, don't know, honestly. We should just continue on. On it's. I feel like we should just continue on until we come back around. We'll have to anyways, seeing as we have to walk back to finish the the cure. At least once we have Daisy around.
Rowan reaches up and kind of scratches the back of his head and shrugs. And then Clyde, still speaking to him. Oh, I mean, I don't think they would answer me. Um, They might you because, well, you fed them. Rowan once again shrugs. I look. This is about as comfortable of a distance as I want to be with these living rocks. Believe it or not. If it, me doing what I did was out of the sake of saving my own ass. Thank you very much.
Fair. Well, at least if you kick one, it might not bite you then.
I would rather not do any of the sort or try and get myself, well, you know, in deeper shit than we already are.
Fair, fair.
Pulls out a small piece of bread and starts nibbling on it to calm himself down. All right.
Well,
So, with fire leading the way, as Aranis gathers the lead with his intrinsic value of being the known guide in these parts. Let's see. Need to get a roll for him.
with fire leading, it's gonna be no, I'm not gonna say a joke.
All right. So, as Arn leads the way and most of the time keeps you out of the way of these rather uh, delicately placed stones that are the pox. Eventually, after about 10 or so minutes of walking, you finally exit the garden and just get out into the once again open grassy plain that feeds into the trees of the amber forest.
Hmm. Well, that's. I think we are now safe from those stony creatures. I wonder how long we are going to be till we actually reach this Daisy. They live seem they live quite far from where that well carved out ent was, or entus, I think. And Val's is just kind of thinking of how do you differentiate like ents? Is it just ent, entus, like that type of terminology? But he kind of brushes it aside.
Rowan looks over and just shrugs. Why are you asking me that? Why don't you ask him? And points over towards the guide, over towards Arnott. And Arnott looks at him. You know, that is a bit, racist. What? It's not racist. You've been here before. But still, it's inherently, you knowing what you thinking I know what I'm. All right, are you going to lead us or not? Well, yes, of course, I'm going to lead you. I just wanted to see how you react. Dick. Well, I've been called worse.
Uh, that's quite amusing.
Arnott just kind of waves off. I can be a jester when I wish. I might not have the musical talent of these other two, but I do seem to have a joke here or there.
Well, at least it's good to have a sense of humor here and there.
Agreed. So, Hmm. With this, would he know what's going on? Not really. Okay.
Time to meet the variants of the pot.
So, making your way through these little pocks and eventually out into the open fields of trees, you actually find yourselves among what look to be low bearing fruit trees, scattered amongst the large ferned redwoods and the thick trunked oaks. You see what almost looks to be large dangling fruit pods that give off a very sweet, almost ambrosia like smell.
Mm, hey, do you know what those fruits are? Okay.
And
Look,
Arlen looks over and I, I would like to say I did, but I cannot exactly tell you that this is something I am exceptionally familiar with. I've heard of fruit and such. I mean, sometimes some of the traders that come by here and we trade some of the fruit that we make from the forest and allow them access to it.
wait,
But I don't know exactly what this is.
wait a minute. You said traders
Yes,
from,
every once in a while there's a few humans that come by. They're trusted mostly.
huh,
They're well known and well regarded in this area.
huh.
I haven't seen much of them, I've only heard of them.
I just ponders a bit. They're
But
not.
from what I've heard, they're much like your Rowan friend with their bread. Rowan kind of glares at him. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, they have a knack for our fruit, much like you have your knack for your bread. And takes out a small kernel of his loaf and chews on it. Just because it's right doesn't make it true. And he
Ah,
starts trudging off.
I see. I did not take this place to honestly hold any like wish for economics.
No, there isn't really any. Oh, wait a minute. What word did you just use? What is this word? Economics.
It's having a value for trade.
Oh, why didn't you just say so?
Eh, it's just a term that's used in my aisle. But I have to deal with a
Well,
lot of traders from the sea, at least back then. It's a term that's at least floated around.
but I suppose you could say that some in this area do have more of a innate tongue for trading, yes.
Hmm.
But I mean, again, I haven't heard I've heard much of them. I haven't seen. The only
Hmm.
humans I've truly seen were the ones that were chasing me off with spears over towards the village I found you at.
I see. It kind of like looks at the fruit. Does it resemble anything similar? Like, does it look more like an apple, like a pear?
It looks to be a green colored apple that's almost pear shaped. And the more you look at it, you actually see there's a very soft, radiating glow to this fruit. And it's not something that's like, I'm going to kill you. It's more of like an inviting glow. Something warm.
You know, I'm tempted to try to get one of those apples, but I won't lie. I feel like we're gonna meet something just as bad as, or someone just as territorial as Jorvik.
Zoram on the other side. Um, no, I wouldn't impose it we would. Most of the things around here seem to be more of, well, you know, less arachnid.
I'm not saying that he would come. I mean, someone similar would, like someone who's Uh,
Yes, and I'm trying not to think about that. Thank you very much. Remember, I had to saw you out of that. We both saw that thing's true face. And while I enjoy and appreciate the arcane, I would much rather not be close to that face again.
fair enough, fair enough.
And that waves over. Well, I wouldn't say it's too bad. He is a rather interesting old man. Just don't call him old to his face. Oh, easy for you to say, of course. But us foreigners don't seem to be taken too kindly. Well, of course not. Most of the things around here don't find themselves too interested in outsiders. You
Well,
couldn't have told us that earlier, could you? Well, I mean, I could, but where's the fun in that?
the fact of the matter is that it's more of a question of if I tried to pick one of these uh, rather inviting looking fruits, either one, something's going to come here claiming that I stolen their fruit, or second, the fruit killed me.
They both look over, look at each other, then look at you, then look at each other, then look at you. Then Rowan looks over towards Niram, and then over towards Clyde. You know, you both seem to have the best luck here about not running into anything, but uh if wait, we could ask if we could pick it. That's actually not a bad idea, Clyde. You see, this is why we talked to Clyde about this. He looks over. Niram, would you um could you ask?
Unless you want some corpses, no.
But wait, ask who?
Rowan nods. Very well. I'll looks over to you and well, Clyde, as you have said, and you could apologies, but this is what Clyde said to those of you who aren't able to read the chat. You could ask if you could pick it. It might answer back, or something else will answer back for you.
Um, I guess I could just try. I think
Yeah,
only
Rowan goes over and kind of notions you off, like, yeah, you do that. And he goes and kind of hides behind Aaron. Zoram does the same. They're both just kind of like, good luck. Try not to find yourself Main Street. Good luck.
all right. And
Before you
well,
can even decide to do anything, Willis, you look over and see Clyde standing before one of these fruit bushels. I'll do it. Turn over to the fruit, just looking at it, standing somewhat proudly. Uh, can we pick this fruit? And if we do, will it kill us? There doesn't seem to be a response. So it might be okay. Clyde, what do you want to do? As Clyde ponders for a moment, you see the dots forming above their head as they think very intently upon this matter. Zoram gently kind of poking his head out from behind Aranut and then from behind Rowan. Actually kind of steps forward and walks and um wait a moment. Yeah, he sees it. Clyde, um over there. Just beyond these I know nothing is answered back, but look over there. I see something beyond the fruits. I think there might be something looking at us. I'm not sure.
Wonder if speaking Sylvan would be better.
And Clyde just turns about, giving a big friendly smile and waves. Hello! And just sees Zoram panics for a second. Zoram, I'm, actually, it's not moving. One minute. Near him, I might need your axe in case something tries to attack me. Would you get my back, please?
Fine. Those are the
Thank
acts,
you.
just escorts, I suppose.
You keeping a decent pace behind him, maybe about 5 or 6 feet. You can see as Zoram makes his path forward. As he trails his eyes about. Could have sworn I saw something. There seems to be a face here. It's dug into one of these trees. It's more of knots and lines. Goes over and kind of inspects it a little bit. Hello? Is there somebody in there? Well, something. Looks over. Aranut, I believe that this sylvan tongue of yours might be required.
Mm. And he
Or,
would,
or, Volis, you as well. Perhaps well, your tongue might be of assistance here.
and Bug kind of walks up and Sylvan, or and try to speak, saying like simply greetings to the tree.
I will say, make me a general charisma check as you do.
Dirty 20. Let's go.
Um, as you speak in Sylvan, you actually see as some of the softer lines start becoming visible within the tree, and a face politely pops out through the knots and lines. An older face, much like that of an old man, a gardener. The brown and blackened outer portions of the oak's bark becoming a almost sunburnt skin, as the face only pops out maybe about a half inch or so. And it looks out over all of you with eyes seemingly to have appeared just from underneath the bark, but nothing that looks creepy or unnatural. The eyes themselves almost look to be innately magic, a soft huing glow of white, with no iris that you can tell. And it pops out. And its response to you in Sylvan. Greetings.
He simply
What are you doing in my garden?
he replies in Sylvan. We are simply were passing by, but I took a notice of your rather finely grown fruit. I wondered if it was okay to rather take or exchange for some. If that is
You have not done anything of from what I can see, into my garden or my plants. I do not see why not. If you wish for fruit, you may take it.
thank you. You see him tip his head a bit. Um, might I ask, what is this fruit, if I may? Or what?
It is an old term, in old Sylvan. It would take too long for me to recite its full name.
I see.
It
Nevertheless,
is simply known in a more common term as honeyglow fruit.
mm, Honeyglow, a fine name. Thank you again for allowing us to pick some of the fruit.
The old tree smiles. You hear the creaking of the bark, and eventually the face fades back into the tree. And Zoram looks back over towards you. So, how did it go?
Granted that we have done nothing to harm its plants or its trees, we are free to collect some of this. What was it called again? It was honey glow
Honey
fruit.
glow fruit. Honey glow fruit.
Hmm. Honey glow fruit. So and he reaches up towards is it only the singular tree or is it like many different trees
No,
around?
there are many. It's so think of it kind of like have you ever gone into a sunflower patch or even seen a sunflower patch?
Yeah, I have.
It's kind of like that. Like there's thick bushels of these plants that are growing up almost like old lamps, and the fruit hangs kind of like almost like um a bundle of bananas,
Mm,
but they're attached together like apples, given their weird shape.
I'm actually going to try one, and he goes over to one of the trees to at least pick one. Granted that he wants to figure out
Okay.
if they're
And you touch it, and it actually almost squishes in your hand. Like these are very tender fruits,
Mm.
but you manage to pull it gently off the stem, and the top end of it kind of detaches with a loud snapping sound as you snap its stem from the bundle. And you look at the fruit, and it still has that very soft glow that is very friendly and inviting.
um he is going to carefully try to take a bite of it.
Over and it tastes exceptionally sweet. It's like you're biting into almost like a pound cake, but juicy and exceptionally fruity with taste and hints of almost strawberry, lemon, and then a zing of pineapple.
I guess what that's where the honey part comes from. Like it is.
And for the next hour, you have 8 additional temporary hit points.
Oh, well, that's nice. Huh.
For the next hour.
Yeah. Hmm. He kind of looks back. Don't know why, but feel a little bit more healthy even for a bit. He says as he's just like rather eating the fruit. It's insanely sweet though, I will admit. But it's not a bad amount.
Aranut looks over. "Hmm, You know what? I might actually try one of these. Would anyone else like one before I just grab one for myself?"
I might go actually whilst we're traveling through this, I might occasionally collect some. Be quite interesting to take back. And um and who knows, maybe these will help us out in a little bit of a pinch. He's like,
Aranut shrugs very gently and he takes the fruit off. Uh, Clyde, you go over very gently, taking one as well, and you turn towards the head and give a dipping, somewhat of a. It's not exactly a bow, but it's more of a respectful nod towards them, bringing the head somewhat low. And take it, it detaches off of the fruit, and it's a very soft fruit, and I mean quite literally, it's almost like handling a water balloon in your hand, just with a little bit of a thicker skin.
Well,
You gonna eat it, Clyde, or are you just gonna put it in your pocket?
put the Jello fruit in your pocket, Clyde.
You bite into it carefully. Uh, Biting into it, the very sweet and savory flavor that immediately just enters into you. It's extremely succulent and sweet, much like that of a strawberry that's very pungent in flavor, and then soft and mellow with a bit of lemon, and then a hint of pineapple. And as you bite into it and the juices kind of roll down your mouth, you just, shit, sorry, and you have to wipe your mouth. But you feel the warm glow, this warm glow from the fruit actually translates into your body, and it makes you feel secure. For the next hour, you have an additional 5 hit points, 5 temporary hit points.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
wonders if this is how the rocks fell. But as this happens, Rowan just kind of takes his bread and keeps nibbling on it. It doesn't sound like he's interested in the fruit very much. Eventually, Arnott looks back to the rest of you. Um, I believe we should be heading off. We still have a cleric to meet, or at least I believe is was talked to. Well,
Agreed,
you know.
agreed. I still intend to collect some fruit as we pass by this rather large place.
As Clyde goes over holding a separate fruit, walks over towards Rowan. It's like, try this on your beard. And Rowan looks at him like, what?
Wait,
And then
what?
Clyde goes, no, 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 bread. I meant bread. I meant bread. Bread. I didn't mean beard. I meant bread. Bread. I'm sorry. I meant bread.
I didn't think.
And Rowan looks extremely cautious at Clyde. I don't think I have a beard worthy of trying this on. But if you want me to try it on the bread, I can try it on the bread, sure. Clyde, turning somewhat beet red in embarrassment, just hands the fruit over. Rowan takes out a small dagger and cuts a portion of the fruit off and puts it on the bread and nibbles on it. Ah, that isn't half bad. And bites through it. Not exactly. It's more of those of you here who have seen The Lord of the Rings, when you remember the oh my god, when Mary was singing to the regent of Gondor and he bit into that tomato and it just kind of sprayed everywhere. That's kind of what this fruit is like. It's extremely juicy and it's actually relatively small. Like you can hold it in the palm of your hand, much like an almost like think a grape that's twice its normal size. So as that happens, and eventually you guys start walking once again.
Um, Great.
Yes.
Would I be able to roll to see how many fruits I collect along the way?
Uh, sure. Go ahead and make me a general survival there.
19 plus 2, so 21.
21. You're actually able to get just about 12 of these fruits.
Yay. That's the. Oh, shit.
Just be careful. They are exceptionally soft. It's very hard to transport them.
Mm.
So you do lose one or two in your initial picking, but then you go through and pick the rest of them without issue and residing to holding them in your arms so you don't squish them against something else in your pack.
Mm.
So these are definitely fruits that require a certain aspect of delicacy, something that isn't really afforded to adventurers. But if you want to keep hold of them, you can.
Well, granted that they're not fighting at the moment. He may as well hold them for now until he figures out what he could store them with.
Okay. So with that, so you guys are here. You've been walking just about, yeah. So eventually, as you guys continue walking, the warm glow that you felt does slowly fade away. And it leaves you kind of feeling a bit weird. Kind of like you reach up and kind of scratch your chin like, damn, kind of wish I had another one of those fruits. But eventually that feeling draws off about maybe another 30 minutes later, and you're finally like, that was a really weird craving.
Mm. Hey, um, we try, I try to remember if we have an artificer or not in this group.
You do. You have Zoram. Zoram is an artificer.
Mm. Hey, Zoram.
Uh,
Uh,
ish.
I know that you tinker here and there. Uh, hold these fruits.
I'm not sure what you would require me to carry them with, but I can carry them for you, yeah.
Mm. I was just thinking that we could try to get uh at least a means to transport these without having to hold them, especially if we're ever forced to fight something.
Uh,
And
um, I might have a bag for that. Whips out what looks to be a small haversack. Or sorry, not haversack, a small satchel.
see him raise a brow. Mm,
We could carry it on this. And he opens up the satchel and there's nothing in it.
sure. And he kind of like cautiously first like puts one of the fruits inside just to see what would happen.
The fruit disappears within it.
Huh. And
Magic, my dear boy. Magic.
you just take it out and it's completely fine.
You have to think about it, yes, but other than that, it should be fine.
He kind of just puts 10 of them in, but he just keeps holding on to one.
Okay. So, after the few hours of walking, it actually takes you guys from the hour of walking about just another hour and a half. So, just about 3 hours of walking through the forest until eventually you come across yet another glade. This one is unlike the others you've actually run into, though. This one seems to be more, well, tantalizing. And kind of picking up a description we used the last time when you had run into after the long walk of running into this woman laying in a field of flowers. We pick up there, as I just wanted to get the filler out of the way now. You see how I did that?
Yes.
Fucking did it. I did it better than One Piece. Fucking did that shit better than One Piece or Naruto. Fuck you guys.
Oh, hey.
No, I wasn't saying that to you. I was telling you to the animation studios. Anyway, but as you come across this beautiful glade, you see what seems to be a woman, tall and petite with a somewhat slender body, dressed in a rather rudimentary garb that seems to wrap around in a very thoughtful yet boastful, uh, wouldn't exactly call it a chest cloth, but it's kind of like a loincloth. It covers the chest enough to where it's decent. You can't see the lower part of her body, but you currently see it looks like she's sitting up with hair that seems to be falling over her shoulders, much like a beautiful waterfall. Shades of amber and brown with hints and mixtures of black that seem to fade through it. And you watch as her hands go up and somewhat curl through the hair, pulling some few knots out, or some of the few knots that are in the mouth, as her hands run through them, much like a soft comb. And you see as the hair changes colors to an even finer amber brown. The eyes that you can see as they track over this small glade looking at each of these flowers are a beautiful, vibrant blue. And every once in a while you see them blink and you'll see they'll turn colors to a purple or a blue, or sorry, another shade of blue, or a red, yellow, and then back to the beautiful sky blue. The soft pink skin that she has is unblemished by anything scars, marks, bruises. It is perfect. And you see in her hands, as you work your eyes down her body, she seems to be working on something as she finishes with her hair. It looks to be some small bundle of flowers as she rolls them into her hands. And you watch her open them and blow gently into them. And you see what looks to be a small, almost like a dust bunny, fly out from her hands. And you hear this creature, this woman, giggle very softly and innocently as she watches this little dust bunny of flowers fly off. Eventually, she notices your presence as you all stand there, and her eyes very slowly track over to you with a beautiful smile that could captivate anyone and melt even the hardiest of stone walls. And she just seems to be waiting before Arna kind of steps forward and gives a brief nod of a bow. Um, Greetings. I do take it you might be Daisy, yes? We've been on our way looking for you. We've been told you can help us, or at least, another group that I'm leading. Her smile doesn't fade. She looks over all of you. Yes, I can help. I would not mind doing so at all. What is it that seems to be the issue? Hmm?
Um, one of our friends is gravely sick, and well, a ent that we have met before said that you could help us at least finish the so-called cure.
See, she actually seems to, her eyes wander off as you speak, and then she kind of blinks and looks back at you. Oh, I'm sorry. I, I lost concentration. Um, yes, I could help you. Um, it would be rather easy if you just eat medicine. Um, and you see as she goes to stand up, but she doesn't use her upper hands. And you actually watch as your information was wrong. She isn't half deer. She seems to be a centaur. And you see just below, maybe about 6 or 7 inches below the belly button, you see the body of a horse. Not a workhorse, but something slender, pristine, well groomed, and perfect. And as the rest of her body stands up, she, if you were to stand up on her hind legs, would be almost 4 to 5 feet taller than you. Getting herself to her full height on all fours with her horse like body, she looks over and very gently walks through this patch of flowers towards you all. You see, hanging off of one of the sides of her body looks to be a small strapped sack, mostly made of what looks to be a hempen rope, made almost entirely out of plants. Something that complements her body very well. The shade of green that comes over is decorated finely by a long quarterstaff that seems to be the centerpiece of whatever this machination for holding her equipment would be. You see bits and pieces of look to be strained incense drying and ready for use. The soft smell of herbal oils and medicines. Almost, they don't reek, but they slowly drift off of her, almost like a perfume. And she trots over to you very happily and looks down. So, what is it I can do to help? Please.
Well, and Valis tries to remember that they need to bring her back with them to the end, right?
Oh, remember, Melanoth, the Dryad, gave you guys the medicine. She
Mm.
needs to refine it and perfect it.
Okay, we have the medicine. Okay, that's the one thing I forgot. Um, Here's a follow-up question. Do we know who has the medicine currently? Because
I
I don't know if
believe it was given to Niram. I believe Niram was the one who accepted it after the rest of you were still kind of worried about the blood that you guys used for the ritual or transitioning of you give me something, I give you something.
Well, who's going to pull out the file then and
um w-
hand it over?
we were told that
Valis.
oh, you're handing it to Valos.
Yep.
Okay. So as he kind of just takes this vial, he does motion in it Daisy's way. We were told that you'd potentially be able to refine this. This would be the cure that would aid our dying friend.
He nods. Um, she kind of gives you a smile of being confused. Um, I, I make medicine. I do not refine. I don't know what that term is.
You'd be able to finish this medicine.
Oh, yeah, yes, I can do that. You see, she kind of softly blushes. Uh, I'm sorry, I did not know. Um, yeah, and she reaches her hands out. Um, yes. How can I help? And please allow me to finish it if it is that what you require.
You would offer the medicine towards Daisy.
All right. Hand it out, and she takes it and holds on to it. She looks at it from within the small holding vial that you were given to. She pops the cork off of it and very gently smells it and pulls her face away. "Mm, yes, this still needs to be made into medicine. It will take some time. but I can do it for you in a relatively quick time, hopefully.
We thank you for this.
She nods and smiles again. And you see her wander back through the garden. And you actually watch as she starts picking flowers. If there's anything you guys want to do, because you just see her doing this, and it looks like she's doing something rather important, and it's going to take some time. So while you're waiting for it, is there anything you guys want to do?
Um, actually, he's going to. If this doesn't work, he'll do something else. But he kind of looks back to Rowan, not Rowan. Shoot, my mind's failing me of who I gave the honey glow to. Um,
Didn't you give it to Zoram? And he stored
Yeah,
it in the bag of holding.
Zorm. Okay.
Zoram still has it in his magical sack, his bag of holding. Yes.
I okay. My mind kind of blinked out on Zorm's name for some reason. I don't know why. He kind of goes back to Zorm and kind of thinks a moment. How long were they from that garden that had the
From the pox
yeah, that had the honey
for
glows.
for honey glow fruit.
Yeah.
These are actually relatively simple names, Willis. It's not like it requires too much. I'm just giving you shit.
My God.
Um, from the garden of the honey glow, maybe about an hour and a half. Well, it's a decent walk.
He decides to ask Narum, "Hey, do you want to go back to collect some more of those honey glows?"
Uh,
Zoram. Oh, sorry. Apologies. Continue.
sorry, please go on.
No, please. I was just going to add something, and I didn't hear you speak up. Please continue.
I was just going to grumble a bit and be on his merry way to collect more fruit.
Fair enough. As Zoram kind of like ooh, and keeps his mouth shut as he hears Niram grumble a little bit and looks over and kind of scratches the back of his neck. Um, I will remain here and let you know when these things finish up. But he actually takes the sack off of his shoulders and hands it over to you. For you and Niram when you retrieve the fruit.
All right. All right. You see it's like a small smile. And looks over to Narum. Let us I guess head over there.
He's already going.
Yeah.
Oh,
As you
oh,
look over, Niram's already gone. You're like, fuck, Niram, wait! And
God,
you
Doc,
start taking after him.
I I guess the one thing he's going to do, like whilst they're walking for the hours, just kind of take the advice from the ant and like as Narum just and him just walk, you could just hear Lilith just trying to speak in that older Sylvan.
You're trying to practice.
Yeah, practice while they're
Eh,
walking.
Practice your old Sylvan because it said you spoke it very badly.
It's always
Um,
good to improve.
yeah, go ahead and make me a general. I'll say make me a general charisma check.
I got 17.
17.
Hmm.
Not really having anybody to practice with, but as you maneuver your way around, you do find yourself trying to emulate the same ways the tongue and the way they moved and swirled the vowels and nouns around in their mouth. And you start remembering, due to the nature of the keen insight of your semi draconic mind that you have, you actually have a very firm grasp of what they said, and you start walking your way through it. And by the end of it, you feel like you've improved. I mean, on some of the words they've spoken, you've picked up on them and you've started implementing them into your own. So you now find yourself using a mixture of young and old Sylvan. except yours is a majority of young Sylvan.
Mm. And you just seem like smile a bit. Just thinking it was an interesting thing to do as a, well, for lack of a better term, of pastime to improve.
Okay. Eventually, Volus, as you're walking by, you actually no, you wouldn't see this. Niram, however, yeah, Niram, as you're walking through, you actually walk through a. It's almost like you walk through a spider web. It's like you feel something just brush across your face. You're like, ah, damn it, and brush it off. And the Volus, you look around, and there's nothing there.
You okay?
I felt something on my face. It seemed like it.
Um, that's kind of odd, but then again, can't really take much of what this place is for, well, normal. Just
Now that you guys are paying attention to that, I'll have both of you make me a perception check here as you're just trying to look around.
I got 16.
I got an 8.
Niram, you're more of just still brushing that stuff off of your face, just the feeling of it, just it makes your scales itch until finally you get it off and it makes you feel better. But Volus, as you look around, there are no spider webs around you. None, none that would remind you of Old Man Yavoric or something like that. So running into something that wasn't his or one of his followers would be exceptionally rare, especially in this area. You start slowly wandering your eyes through, and you do see somewhat hidden amongst the trees and soft glowing lights that embody the small aurora through the trees of the Ember Forest. You see two yellow dots staring at you. And these are somewhat familiar. You've seen these kind of eyes in a creature before. And you've had to kill these kinds of creatures before as well. And it just seems to be staring at you and near him. Just watching.
Yeah, I don't want to alarm you, but you're currently being watched. You just see that, well, he's just keeping his eyes locked on this thing.
I don't need to say that twice, and he pulls out his greatsword.
Your axe, or your greatsword, pulls out as it scrapes out of the scabbard. You hold it in your hands. The moment you see the creature realize the moment it's been spotted, and you watch it disappear. And it seems to run away.
I think we should be more on our toes. Guess
I
not all
guess
of
so.
me.
As this quasi argument ensues and is then dealt with as Niram just nods his head and agrees. Volus, you keep your eyes up and pay more attention to the area surrounding you. Niram, after running into that spider web, start kind of feeling a soft kind of pain sensation in the back of your head, like a creeping headache that doesn't really want to come to full fruition and it just annoys you. You're not sure what it is, but you feel like the skin underneath your scales like shivers for a moment, like when you remember coming through the corrupted portal. But you
Mm.
keep moving.
Well, he's just going to tough through it, I guess.
Okay. So, as you continue on your walk, nothing else seems to abate you. Clyde, you, Zoram, and Rowan, as you stay by watching Daisy fuddle through the flowers. It's actually interesting. She seems relatively wise, but the way you look at her, she's kind of dancing through the flowers, like relatively smart, but not very at the same time. Blissfully unaware, or at least somewhat ignorant, as she wanders through the flowers. You actually watch as she picks some of those, like, "Ooh, that's pretty." And then she'll turn around and try and find another one around. As you step by and ask her if you could try and ask her to help, she actually looks at you. She seems startled for a second, like you just interrupted her train of thought. She looked, uh, oh, I'm sorry. Who are you? No, wait. I know who you are. You are the people who asked for the medication. Yes. Oh, right, the medicine. Oh, you need that done. Oh, I should probably start working on that. And you see as she actually starts grabbing a couple of the other flowers, and you see as her hands actually start making into small motions of magic that start swirling through and around. You start gathering as to why she said this might take a while. She seems a bit absent-minded. But as she gets into it, you watch as there doesn't seem to be any sort of magic that you have ever seen. Whatever she's practicing, she is very good at it, and she knows what she's doing. As you stand there, kind of dumbfounded, Clyde, you just kind of put your hand up and scratch the side of your head, just wondering how this woman is going to help you make medicine if she can barely remember that you guys asked her to do it. But watching her work these small miracles of magic, you start slowly understanding why she can do it. So, with that, it's Clyde, you and the rest kind of sit there. Rowan almost hopelessly just sits there. I can't believe we had to remind her about that. Zoram looks over. Well, it's not like some people have perfect memory. Why judge the woman? She's helping us, isn't she? Rowan nods and grumbles. "Hmm. Grumble all you wish. It's still a fact." Okay. Clyde, you spend every about like 30 to 45 minutes, you'll see it's almost like a squirrel. She'll lock onto something and she'll start obsessing over it, and then you'll bring her back. And Rowan, once again finding himself backed into a corner and without friends in an argument, takes out a piece of bread and starts nibbling on it. All right. So, Willis, dear, as you both eventually make your way through, finishing your hour and a half walk, you reappear back into the grove of soft glowing fruits.
No lie. For being a little bit on edge, this place is quite lovely. Yeah.
What?
You were spacing out on me, friend. Um, let's see. We should be fine to take just possibly a little bit more fruit. I don't want to be greedy after all with this. And so let us see what we can get and well, just be mindful not to be to get too much. All right. But both kind of has a bit of hesitation. Um, but also keep an eye out for any spectators, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So with that, Vullis, make me a sleight of hand check as you're trying to be careful to pull this stuff out. And then Niram, make me a perception check here.
Hmm.
And I would say since you are aware of what's following you, I will give you advantage because you know what you're looking for.
All right. So the perception check is a 12.
And my sleight
Wow.
of hand is hold up. My sleight of hand is hey, natural 20 plus 4, so 24.
Niram, you're actually rather lucky. You find yourself being so paranoid as to look around just to trying to find out where these things are because you remember having to deal with them and they were not fun. But eventually, only after about 10 minutes, you feel a soft knock against your shoulder and you look over and see Vullis is prepared to go. Vullis, you have managed to siphon another 8 pieces of fruit
A
without being too greedy.
so let me fix this number. All right then, and he's just casually just putting him in the bag. Well, I say this was successful in its own right. Do you want to try picking up any Nerim, or do you want to start heading back?
We should head back.
Hmm,
They're
fair enough,
still
fair enough.
around.
As you
Well,
both walk your way out, and Vullis, you continue talking. You actually see that there does seem to be a spider in your way. Something small, barely the size of a speck of dirt on somebody's thumb, making a small web across the way. And you look at it just as you maybe 10 feet from the garden. You look at it. It doesn't look to be the one that led you here, or any friend of yours for that matter. It looks weird. Its coloration is very off. A sickening gray with hints of black and silver. And you see as it's just hanging on its web, a single strand. And it's looking at both of you.
in a cautious voice, Volos is gonna just say, "Can we help you?"
In what language?
Sylvan.
Okay, you need to specify here. um, the spider looks and says nothing to you, almost completely ignoring you as it looks over towards Nira. And you see its many eyes blink from left to right and right to left.
Nerem just kind of looks at it.
All right. See. Okay. Nira, you hear a voice. Something soft, almost like someone whispering in your ear. Volus, you hear something, but it's almost like a fly buzzing. You don't really understand the words. And near this is in common, not in any other tongue. You seem strong. I could use some help from someone as strong as you. Apologies for having to use a minion like this. For someone as great as you. But I require your help. They keep me here trapped for something I did not commit. Save me, and I will reward you.
You see a quizzical look on Nerum's face upon hearing these words. Turns over to Valis and says, "You know, I think I might be going crazy. The little spider told me that apparently they need help from someone strong. That's why they approached me for some fucking reason. And they are being imprisoned for something they did not commit."
Well, you are the more, well, I believe you have more muscle out of the two of us here. So I guess that's one implication. But for a crime they did not do, it makes me beg the question of what they did do. But not gonna lie, now I do not know how well we would want to temper with the affairs of this land.
My issue is that we don't have time.
Our time is slim.
Nerum just turns back to the spider and says, "Well, apologies for having to decline your offer, but I am afraid that my associates and I are not able to help you for our schedule is quite tight."
See, the spider doesn't say anything else. It just seems to have had a message for you. But it listens to what you say, and then starts walking off. And you watch it actually sever the web, and it swings very gently off to the darkness, covered by the shade of the trees of the Ember Forest. And there is no longer anything blocking your guys' way.
Yeah, I won't lie. After dealing with that sorcerer lich thing, I don't think we want to attempt anything else that apparently has some darker arts. And if this person was imprisoned,
Yeah, I know.
well,
Don't. You know what,
hmm,
Alice?
yeah,
Just make sure that if I ever do step over the line of insanity, just put me down.
I'll keep that in mind, but I'll do my best to make sure that never happens.
I sure hope so.
I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't happen. I fucking hope so.
I mean, it's a bit obvious that I will not let that happen, or at least try to. You don't know what weird shit happens in this world.
I mean, ultimately, I don't have half a clue what the fuck magic is even. Like, what is magic? Why is magic? And who the fuck thought it was a good idea? Yeah, whatever. No use fretting about something that I don't understand.
Mhm.
Come on. I bet the
Yeah,
others are still waiting on us.
yes, I know, I know. Hey, actually, Adam, as we're walking back, would you want to learn how to speak to, well, these fake creatures?
At most, you could probably tell him to say hello.
I
Nerem just
mean, yeah.
Nerem looks at Valis for a second and says, "I can barely speak Elvish."
Would you want to work on Elvish then? I'm quite
Uh,
the multilinguist.
I suppose. You you don't speak Orc, perchance, do you? Need to brush up on that.
orc? Don't think I do. No, I don't believe I know much aside from just the basics when it comes to that. Not
Uh,
many talkative orcs these days.
I mean, yeah, but I've been meaning to improve.
Mm,
Can't always be the bumbling idiot.
At least I can help you improve in your elvish. That much
Uh,
I can do.
that sounds like an idea.
As you both once again make your way back towards the party for about an hour and a half. The walk being somewhat helped along by the talking during between of learning this elvish language. Eventually, as you make your way back to the glade, you see within among the grove of flowers, you actually watch Clyde in the middle of having to remind Daisy about what exactly she's doing. You see a bundle of flowers within her hands mixed in with the medicine. And you see in the other hand, there looks to be a small, almost petri dish made up of green leaves that seems to be full of what looks to be almost like a mashed powder made entirely of flower petals, mixtures of crystal, and other bits and pieces of other arcane implements. And as this happens, eventually you see as Daisy takes one of the flowers out of her hand and very briefly swishes it within the powder and then dips it into the jar of medicine and seals it and shakes it very gently. For a moment, you can all swear you would hear groaning coming from the bottle, like something whining, trying to get out, grumbling and groaning, before eventually, after about a minute and a half, it stops and the bottle is silent.
Holy shit, she just drowned a flower.
Look, things happen in the Feywild. You don't need to. What happens to the Feywild stays in the Feywild.
Oh, I'm fully aware. Doesn't mean I can't comment on it.
So, as she walks over and delivers the bottle, she just kind of holds it out for one of you to grab. So, what are you doing? Who's grabbing it at least?
Um, we are all there present, right? Or is Nariman Willis still behind?
No, you're all there. I mean,
If no one decides to take it, Willis will.
okay. So, it's nobody really reaches out for it, but you take your hand and grab the very top of the neck of this medicine container. And as you do so, you actually see as Daisy just gives this beautiful smile and very softly walks back into her grove, being relatively lonesome as she settles herself back into the flower beds. You watch her shrink back to the small human size of just being able to see her torso, and almost immediately picks up where she last left off, very gently playing around with the flowers. So,
Uh, we.
as
Oh,
no, continue.
You see, as well as takes the vow, he kind of tips his head towards Daisy, and well, with his slightly mixed form of Sylvan, he does thank Daisy for their assistance or their help.
He waves you off with a smile. Mm. She nods. Your mixture of old and young Sylvan actually seems to confuse her for a second, but she just smiles and nods. But you all have now acquired what you have come here for, a bottle of medicine, whatever it is, created by whatever potion maker this is in the Amber Forest. So, what are you doing?
I guess the most logical thing is to retrace our steps and try to return to back to Port Ivy as soon as possible.
Okay. Arnett looks at all of you and gives a soft nod of approval. And it seems we finally managed to get you and your friends finally through this endeavor, haven't we?
It's only half the journey, my friend. We still have to deliver this medicine.
Mm, quite so. Well, I can't exactly be your guide outside of the Amber Forest. I don't rather wish to be a burden upon you.
Well, you haven't been a burden. On the contrary, you've been quite helpful.
Mm, well, perhaps if I might ask if I might perhaps stay with you a little while. Maybe enjoy the outside of the forest. Perhaps see what I can bring back in the essence of ideas or knowledge. We're always looking for things like that here.
The world's a large place, my friend, and, well, I think we'd be honored to have a companion such as yourself remain on by our side.
He nods with a nervous smile.
And worry not, being with us, we'll be sure to not allow anyone to attempt to disrupt you, at least when you're in the cities. That I can assure you.
He looks over with kind of a confused glance.
Um,
I'm
it
not sure
was.
what you mean.
It's more in reference to when we first met you. You were attacked in that one village. We will
Oh,
make, or at least I'll be sure to make, if it's within my power, that it not happens again in relatively any town, if possible.
now somewhat understanding, he nods. I see. My apologies for not knowing.
It is all right. It is all right. Though, can I try to roll an insight to try to figure out how long they would have been inside the Feywilds currently? I understand that there might be as well like a different concept of time, but how much does it feel like they've been in there for? Since I do remember that they did sleep at one point.
You wouldn't
Or-
know about time displacement in the Feywild.
Oh,
Mm. All right,
I
something in
thought
my
it
throat.
was. I thought someone said that before one of the. I thought that one ent said that the first ent that we met.
No, the end didn't say anything about it. He just looked at you. When you had asked about what time it is, he said, "Time is interesting here."
Hmm.
He didn't say anything to specify about what he meant.
All right.
Sorry about
Apologies.
what he meant. No, that's all right. I can understand where that kind of confusion would come from.
Hmm.
So, with that, what would you like to do? As all of you now have what you have come here for, are you going to start making your way out with your newest member in tow, still guiding you through the forest?
That's the plan.
Okay. So, let's see just what happens, shall we? As you try and make your way back through the forest. Interesting. Making your way back through, Arnold is much more easily able to lead you back to where you came from, especially the opening of where you came out from, which the tunnel spider led you. But once again, you're faced with the very impossibly beautiful stretched yarn that is the spider web of Yaborak. And it seems like the tunnel you took earlier has been sealed. Bits and pieces of string from the web have been wrapped over it to complete the beautiful rendition of art that this web is. You want to ask him again?
Um,
I'd say make me a persuasion check here, if you wish, Clyde.
Actually, there is something I want to ask him about.
As Clyde is currently thinking about this and is currently rolling for it, what would you like to try and ask him once Clyde hopefully gets his attention?
He wants to try and make reference to what Niram had said earlier about the imprisoned being.
Okay. So, Clyde, about your persuasion check. What'd you get? Clyde, we need you.
Fly.mp4 is not responding right now. Please leave a message after the beep.
That beep's gonna last for about 10 minutes. I, I can't tell if they
Ah,
got the 8 or the
wow!
20. If you
Wow!
can't tell what you got, just re-roll it. Damn it,
Wa-
woman.
Wow, that is harsh.
12 plus 4, 16. All right. Interesting. What exactly do you say to try and ask him for another guide, Clyde? If anything, or are you just gonna like, hello, excuse me, we're a bit lost. Can we get a guide? Uh, Yavoric. It would be YOH apostrophe VORK. Yavoric. Yeah, Yavoric, the ancient arachnomancer. as Clyde is currently formulating that statement in his head. And this is going on. Niram, you can't help but just that headache that's been bugging you. There's something about it. And it's getting more and more annoying. It's not hurting. It's just the lingering pain of it. It's just gnawing at you.
He's just gonna try and tough it out as he did
Okay,
before.
go ahead and make me a wisdom save.
Oh, great. Fucking Feywilds. It's a 15.
15. Okay. As far as you can tell, you tough it out. The annoying, just sensation of that gnawing on the back of your head. Eventually, you just bring your hand up and pinch the bridge of your nose hard enough to feel like a break in the skin of your scale as you drive one of your nails and just underneath one of them, and finally brings you out of this snit and the feeling of the back of your head for a few moments.
Narum, you sure you're okay? I
It's
don't want
just
to.
just a minor headache.
Mm.
Clyde, as you kind of give yourself with a small bow as you speak out. You all once again hear the rustling of what sounds like a tree branch, of wind hitting, and you look up, and dancing through the webs looks to be a giant spider made of wood and flesh and chitin. Bits and pieces of fur sticking off of the branches that tumble off of it, hidden much like some tree itself. Eventually, you see as it comes down to a position where it can look over all of you, and you can see just about the front portion of its first 8 legs, and you see the tip of its head with its many eyes just staring down at you. Yes, you had asked of me again. What do you require? Oh, he heard you. He's just asking you to repeat it because he can. Like, you know the kind of person who asks you to say you're sorry and then says they couldn't hear you, so you have to say it again? That kind of person. It also possibly doesn't help that you called him old man. He is an elf. Say it again, and he looks down at you. Ah, I see. I find it odd you use a title unbefitting of me. And once again, he is speaking in common. Calling and being such as myself, old man. What nerve have you? but it can be overlooked in some regard, as you have been one of the more, shall we say, courteous parties to regard my webs and those within them. So, you require a guide.
If I may as well, that is something else we would like to ask.
He looks over to you, Clyde. Your apology is accepted. And looks back to you, Willis. What is it you have to ask once again?
Mhm. Can you repeat that, Grape? I didn't hear that properly.
That's all right. So what is it you require of me? Again, other than a guide.
It is more so a question. And this part, he starts speaking, Sylvan. We were visited by a spider not from your, well, not of your children. Me and Nerem spoke about being imprisoned. We were wondering if you could shed some light on this, if possible.
You see this giant spider start slowly making its way down, further across the web, getting closer to you, much like when you were originally caught in it. There are many creatures trapped in this area, imprisoned for deeds they've done and deeds they will do. So, you'll have to be more specific.
Uh, I'm trying to remember what the spider looks like. It was a silver spider, right?
It was a sickly gray with black and silver outlines.
It was a sickly gray with black and silver outlines, and entailed with the message, they said they were imprisoned for a crime they did not do. If that holds some relevance.
You will be given a guide, and you will not speak or utter another word while you are within the presence of my web and my children. Are we clear?
Crystal clear.
If I see you or any, and he looks around to the rest of the party, any of you, I will kill you. That is a promise. Leave now when I still have my patience.
Okay, thank you for the guide. Simply states, though, remain silent after that. But he does
So,
dip his head in like a form of respect.
understood. As you look down, you see the tunnel you came through previously. You see a handful of spiders, roughly about the size of a small dog, about 7 of them, actually start peeling apart bits of the web, opening up the tunnel once again. And you all see a very familiar small spider, just about one that could fit in the palm of your hand. The very cute, furry spider that looks at all of you and waves one of its mandibles. And it notions for you to follow.
Phyllis just follows without another word.
Okay. Zoram keeps his mouth shut. Aran knows to keep his mouth shut, so he keeps moving. Niram, you're still busy with that headache, so you just keep moving, grumbling to yourself and relatively staying silent, so there's no problem from you. All right, Luck. Just because you're thirsty for the elf, don't mean you need to see him 24/7. All right.
Wait, what?
I'm talking to Clyde. Clyde said, "I can't see Daddy Yavoric again. Cruel world, man. Cruel world."
I mean, technically, you could see him. Just it's you got a high chance of death, my friend. It takes for Clyde's case to take step on me a whole new level.
Yeah, a whole new level of step on me. So
You know, I appreciate that you try to give me, the player, the same headache that my character is going through right now. It's
sorry.
working.
We try our best.
Anyway, as you are led through this tunnel once again, the friendly spider is still somewhat friendly, but it doesn't speak to you. It waves and gives you the best smile a spider can and leads you through the tunnel. After walking for about 30 minutes and you exit out of the tunnel, the spider waves at you once again and smiles and gives you guys a curtsy little bow and waves you off before finally the other spiders, all roughly about the size of small dogs, come by and reseal the artwork and masterpiece that is the web of Yavoric.
Yeah, next time we
Yes, Clyde, you had something to say. Sorry, 1 second. Clyde had something to say. Uh, Normally, if you did that sort of thing, it might not be received well, but you could try.
what do you think?
Clyde wants to give them one of the spider coins.
Ooh.
Clyde, do you want to do that, or do you just want to keep it to yourself? Okay. So you walk over to the web, and you actually see as the spiders over there very slowly turn towards you, almost like gun turrets. And they watch you. As you walk by, you pull out the coin that gleams very gently in the light, and you show off the sides. Oh, yes. Holding on, Clyde. You speak to them, and there is no response. There is no response. It's more of they are looking at you, and if they wanted to respond, they couldn't. You see the soft, furry spider does kind of look at you, and it does look like it wants to speak, but it looks like it was as told as if not to be. It has detect thoughts. Yeah. The main idea of this spider is kind of regret as you comb over the subtle feelings of the mind. It is feeling regret, sadness, and a small tinge of fear. Those are the main emotions that it's feeling. Mm. You ask it, and It doesn't seem to react. It waits there and just once again waves you off. I have given you 1 second as you've requested, Clyde.
Back.
Okay. All right, we got you. All right, carrying on. But if you wanted to, Clyde, you could put it on, but most of the feeling here is you're no longer welcome. Whether it be because Yavorik has said so, or because they are following that order because he said so. You wanted to lay something on the web, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it.
You could probably just leave it in front of the web.
Waiting for Clyde. Clyde, give us something. Waiting for Vincent. He said if something went wrong, we go back to the beginning. This is where I was. This is where I will be. So, as Clyde currently thinks about this message, the 3 dots in their head forming this intricate language of words. Quietly. Anyway. Arnett kind of turns over and starts very softly talking to Zorn. And the rest of them start kind of talking to you, Niram, Volus. I believe we should leave. I don't believe we're welcome here anymore. Whatever Clyde is trying to do, I wouldn't recommend it.
I mean,
Perhaps somebody should let them know.
Clyde, we should go now. It's clear that we aren't going to be welcomed around in these parts anymore, so please. We are losing quite a bit of time as well.
Clyde stands there still looking at you, then looking back to the web, then looking back to you and back to the web.
It is not the best time to fuel a already small fire.
Okay. So, eventually, Clyde just puts the coin on the ground, just puts it there, and backs away from the web, and putting their hands up kind of defensively. I'm not sure if this is acceptable or not. Um, if it's not, please get rid of it. However, if it is, please take it as thanks for allowing its passage. It means a lot that we were able to get medicine for our sickly friend. And Clyde would give a small dip of a bow to the spiders and then start moving to follow you guys as you would start walking off. And as Clyde follows the rest of you, departing from this giant web of spiders, that is where we'll end tonight's session as we have hit our usual 2-hour mark. So,
A quite an eventful session.
I would like to hope so. But anyway, those of you on Twitch, hello. I apologize for the kind of late start that we had for a little bit, but we had a little bit of technical difficulties, so you don't need to really worry about that too much. However, those of you who did come by, it is always a pleasure to see you all, especially when you come by and enjoy yourselves. If you would like to come by and participate a little bit more, you guys can always come by. And if you want to do so, and more regularly, we normally stream just about every Saturday unless something fucks up. And if you want to learn about that, you can also go to Behemoth's Discord, and you could find out about if we are streaming or if we are not that day. And if you want to find out more about what's been going on, you can also check out the playlist that he just put up as well. Something that'll be much helpful, or much more helpful to you than I could possibly be with my little recaps. But other than that, if you really liked it, perhaps you could come by and drop a follow, and we'd love to see you again. But other than that, before I get to begging, I will hand it off to Behemoth so he can round off for what's going on.
All right. Today was a bit rough. We've had some issues here, at least. I've had some issues. I've had to troubleshoot some stuff in the background, so I might have not been the most active in today's session. But I appreciate everyone showing up here. I hope you enjoyed the session, and yeah, as Graves said, we'll probably go on next week. If nothing, happens to cause problems as it did the last few times. I mean, we had a session 2 weeks ago, and there were a whole slew of other troubles. But yeah, other than that, just, I guess, look forward to the next session on next Saturday. I don't know if I'm in a position to talk about any other projects. But yeah. Have a nice evening, everyone. Take care.